Hey guys, it's Daryl with dadsanddragons.com. I've been away for a while, and I just thought it's time for me to get back in and put up a couple of videos here for you. I've missed a lot of stuff since I've been gone. I took about a week and a half off, so I'm back into it, and I'm just going to be looking at some of the games that came out while I was busy doing other things. The first one is the one that I was the most excited to see, and that is Duck Season. And it comes from Stress Level Zero. These are the guys who made the game, the Vive game, Hover Junkers. And Duck Season is a quirky little title. It's short-ish. It depends on how you look at it. There are 7 different endings to play. But the game itself, I think if you tried to go for all 7 endings, could get a little bit repetitive. But anyways, let's just get into it and have a look here. Basically, first off, Duck Season is just straight-up nostalgia. It tugs right at your heartstrings if you grew up in the late 80s and early 90s. And by the way, I just heard my phone go off, so if you hear things like that, you might hear piano playing. I'm at home now. I'm not in the studio anymore. I don't know if I'll be going back. I haven't figured that out yet, so there might be noises and stuff. I apologize. Doing the best that I can here. Anyway, so the Duck Season game, and it's obviously a play on Duck Hunt from Nintendo. But I mean, it's more than that. It's more. There's way more nostalgia in it than just that. The first thing is that you start up the game and you're in a living room, and it is straight out of the late 80s, early 90s. It's decorated the same way. It's got the big tube TV in front of it, a VCR, tapes laying all over the floor, cartridges are all over the floor. You got your like NES Zapper kind of thing. I mean, it's obviously not the NES Zapper, but it very much is supposed to be, and you can tell that, right? And then you got your couch and your like carpet, and then behind it is the dining room, and your mom's just back there doing mom crap, and you're just playing a game, right? So anyways, you jump into the game, and all of a sudden you are, inside the game, and it's got the dog from Duck Hunt, only it's not the dog from Duck Hunt. It's somebody in a creepy dog from Duck Hunt costume. And anyway, you can shoot him and stuff like that. He doesn't die, of course, but he does react to being shot, unlike the stupid dog from Duck Hunt. And so the ducks start flying, and if you're playing on easy mode, you don't have to reload your gun or anything. You got infinite bullets. You don't have to pump the shotgun or anything. You just point and shoot. If you do play a bit harder, I haven't tried on hard yet, but on medium difficulty, you actually have to grab your shotgun shells and reload, and pump the shotgun to get rid of the old shell and put a new one in, and that sort of thing. Anyway, it's pretty cool, and you go through about, I think, 3 rounds of killing ducks, and it's the same way. You've got your scoreboard beside you, and it launches 2 ducks at a time, and you shoot them both, and then they fill in on the chart, and there's a little line to say how many ducks you have to hit in order to pass the round. If you've played Duck Hunt, you should know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, watch a video, I guess. it'll be on the video here. Anyways, so you go through about 3 rounds of that, and then there's like these little intermission sessions, I guess you'd call them, and this is where the real game actually takes place. It's not, I mean, definitely Duck Hunt is a huge part of the game, and it's what you're going to spend most of your time doing, but these intermission rounds, they're what separate this from being just a standard VR Duck Hunt game. And basically you're like this little kid, and so the game the game takes a little intermission, and then you get to watch commercials, and they are flawless. You would swear that these were like recorded from Saturday morning cartoons when you were a kid and put into this game. That's how good they are. They're exactly what I remember Saturday morning cartoons being like thinking like G.I. Joe and stuff like that, right? Like with the kids, and they're playing and they're smashing through boxes and doing all this stuff that you would never do when you were playing with it. Maybe you would. I never did. It's just brilliant. All of the things that they thought to put in. But of course, as you probably know, if you've ever heard of this game, the game takes a turn for the creepy. So after this intermission round is over, you go back in, you shoot some more ducks, then you come back out, and things are starting to get a little weird. Again, there's different pathways through it. I've only been to the end of one of the pathways so far, but like in one of them, my mom is like asking where the knife went and stuff, and that's a little bit creepy. And then I look out the side window. There had been, I don't know if I mentioned this, there had been a old shoulder-mounted camcorder sitting on top of the TV, and it was gone. It was just missing, and they got like a outline and like dusty outline. So like even if you hadn't really noticed that it was there before, you would notice now that it's missing, that something had changed. Anyway, and you don't really think about it, and you're looking around, you're playing with all your toys, picking up the magazines and seeing what kind of crap they have written on it, and then you turn your head and you look out the side door, and there's the dog from the game, and he's got your camcorder and he's recording you, and it's just like creepy crap like that, right? But then it gets to the point where you go back into the game, and I think it's been a while since I played it, and unfortunately my recording stopped. I don't know, I think I ran out of space on my computer or something. Anyway, my recording stopped, so I didn't get this part on recording, but the dog wasn't in the game. I was just shooting ducks and the dog didn't show up, and I was like, well, that's kind of weird. And even though all other aspects of the game were the same, it just was kind of creepy. And anyway, you go back out to the intermission, and then you look behind you in the kitchen, and your mom's laying dead on the floor, covered in blood. And it's just horrible. And I'm going to admit here that the ending that I got was a bit over the top. It hasn't put me off playing the game at all, but it does sort of. Here, spoiler alert. If you don't want to know what the ending is, then pause the video and jump down to the keys and skip to the next game, and then you won't have to worry about it. But basically, what happens is you pick up your play school, your little play school flashlight, the one that you can switch between red and green, and of course you can switch between red and green in the game, but you pick that up and you're looking around, and there's a baseball bat you can hold on to, and your little zapper gun shoots little, like, I don't know, normally when you pick it up and shoot it, it doesn't do anything, but now it's shooting this, like, I don't know, pulsing laser stuff, I don't know. Anyways, so you're looking around, and the screen behind you is just taking a little snippet from the commercial that played on the TV for the game for duck season, and it's got the kid going, "Duck season," and the mom going, "I'm not sure about that," or whatever it is she said, and it just keeps repeating it with like static, and it just keeps getting louder and louder and louder, and then you're just like looking around all over the place because something is about to happen, but I don't remember exactly how it worked. I think it worked. This is just me guessing. I think it worked that you had to, kind of look away, kind of like if you've ever played the game, what the heck's it called now? The chair one, Sightline the chair. Where you look away and then you look back and something's different, right? Because I think you had to look at the TV, and then when you turn back, then all of a sudden the dog was there, and he had a knife, and he was coming at you. And I tried shooting him with the gun because I was trying to decide between. So I had the flashlight, and I was trying to decide between bat and gun, and ultimately, since the gun was doing something different, I thought, well, this must be what I need. So I was using the gun, and I shot him a bunch of times. I didn't do anything to him, and then he just stabbed me right in the forehead. And that's the part that I thought was a little bit much, because it was like, then all of a sudden you're standing up above the room and you're looking down into it like it's a set or something like that. I don't know, or a room in a facility. I'm not sure what it's supposed to be what you're doing, but you're looking down on it, and then there's like this little kid laying there dead with a knife in his forehead, which I'm sure a lot of people are just like, oh, that's hilarious and stuff like that. To me, that was a little bit much. So I'm hoping that the other endings are a little bit less gruesome than that. At least insofar as involving children. I didn't really have it was shocking to turn around and see my mother stabbed to death in the kitchen, but it was not disturbing in the sense that it was with the kid. Overall, I think this is a really fun game. It's a really great way to tap into your nostalgia and sort of relive a Saturday morning from your early childhood, assuming you were alive at the time and old enough to play video games. and I think they did a really good job just overall. The game is just great, and they've implemented this new gun system where because in most games where you can hold a rifle two-handed, you reach up and you actually grab the end of the gun, and then that allows you to do stuff with the gun that you would never be able to do, like spin it around while still holding with both hands and stuff, right? And they're like, that's sort of immersion breaking, so they came up with this new thing where it's like a snap system where you just bring your hand up close to the barrel and it'll automatically grab on, and then within a certain range it will follow your hand, but if you move too far, your hand comes off the gun, just like it would in real life. It just prevents you from being able to like pull it around and point it at your face while still holding onto it with both hands. And so it's a pretty neat little addition. It's a small thing that if honestly, if I hadn't watched a video about them doing it, I probably would never have noticed that that's what happened. But there's little details and stuff where, like, if you don't reach up with your second hand and you're holding it with one hand, the front end sort of swings a little bit because shotguns are heavy and it would be hard to just hold it, which makes the gun feel like it has a little bit of weight, which is something cool and I think something unique to this game. So overall, really good game. A little bit disturbing. So if you're sensitive towards child death in video games, you may want to give this one a pass, but otherwise, if you grew up in the late 80s, early 90s, this is definitely a game that's worth checking out. Such a well-made game, and it's clear that these guys loved their childhoods and they did a great job recreating it. So that's my opinion on it, and hopefully you guys like it. So the next game that I'm going to look at is a game called Crashimals, and it is an Angry Birds-like game from a developer called Rogue Earth. And it came out a couple of weeks ago, and it's a neat little cartoon game with an Angry Birds feel and a very strange control scheme. Basically what it is there's an arrow pointing from your left hand to your right hand. It's like a little yellow arrow that joins your controllers in the game. And so wherever you move your hands, that arrow is always joining the two controllers. And whatever direction that arrow is pointing is the direction that your pilot is flying. And at first, I skipped the training or something because I had no idea what was going on. I couldn't tell if he was flying where I was looking or where one of my hands were pointing. I could tell that my control sticks weren't doing anything. But then eventually I saw the arrow and I was like, okay, that must have something to do with it, and I figured it out. But even once I figured it out, it's a little bit weird. To me, I feel like it does add a bit of challenge, but it feels like an unnecessary bit of challenge to add to it. It feels kind of like it was padding out the game, sort of. Like, yes, it'll take longer to play the game because of this control scheme, just because it is so unintuitive. And unintuitive, I don't think is something that you want. It's not a word that you want to use to describe your control scheme. So even though you can get used to it and you can get fairly competent with it, it's still, to me it should be an option. There are probably people out there who are going to love it. I think it should be an option. I should say maybe it is. I didn't really look very hard, to be perfectly honest with you, but I did play with it for a while. I got through several levels. I unlocked a couple of different pilots and used a couple of different planes. And so basically what it is you've got structures out in front of you that are kind of like the Angry Birds structures, and they've got birthday cakes on them. And your job is to knock down the structures in as few bombs as possible. So for the first plane, you've got a gorilla, I believe it is, who flies around and drops bombs. They're bombs, but there's different kinds of bombs in the game. So that's what's messing me up here. So sorry, I'm just looking at these pictures here. It's not a gorilla, it's a hippopotamus. I don't know where I got gorilla from. Anyway, so you're a hippopotamus, then you unlock a giraffe, and then later on there's an ostrich and a badger and a giraffe and these different things that you can unlock. And each one of them flies a different plane and has a different weapon, though the difference between them is sometimes pretty negligible. Like there's the bomb that's like the kind of bomb you would think you would expect to drop from a plane, and then there's the bomb that's like the old cartoon bomb that has a fuse and stuff like that. And I guess it does a timed explosion, so there's a certain level of strategy it adds there. But then there's a missile, but it's not a lock-on missile. And this is sort of where the problem comes in, because the structures that you're supposed to knock down, they're kind of outside of that area. You know, the area in VR where things are really close to you and you get a really good sense of depth in that area. Which isn't to say that you can't see the 3D. You absolutely can see the 3D, but it becomes harder to judge whether or not your plane is lining up with them because of where they are. But if you can get around that, and you can get around the controls, there are some pretty decent puzzles in them, and there are like some of them it's just like straight up bomb the things, hit the cake with your bombs, do that 3 times and you're done, you get 3 stars. But then in other levels it gets a little bit more difficult, because you can like knock down a tower that will then drop a big log or barrel or something, and it'll roll down a ramp, and then it'll knock down the other ones. All stuff you've probably seen in Angry Birds. But then there are some levels where there's like indestructible objects around the platforms, and those can be a little bit tricky to hit. And to be perfectly honest, at least in my case, those can be a little bit frustrating to hit, because as I say, the controls are not doing you any favors in this game. It's just, yeah, it can be a little bit frustrating. So I downloaded this game and I was thinking, oh look, it's a cute little cartoon game, which I love cute little cartoon games. You know, to be perfectly honest, like I definitely think there's a place. You know, not just a place, but I love the realistic games as well. But there's definitely a place in VR for these cute little third-person games. But I can't tell you how much I wish that this was a platformer, a 3D platformer, instead of a Angry Birds clone sort of game. Because for starters, Angry Birds is what, 38 million years old or something. I guess 3D platformers are older than Angry Birds, but I just feel like there's more variety that you can do in a 3D platformer than what you can do in a game that's just basically knock down towers. It might have been a little bit more interesting if I were able to jump to, for instance, if I were actually in the plane. That would have been a lot better. I would have liked that a lot better. But you're not. You're standing on some platform thing, and then you launch the plane, and then he just goes, and he kind of only has one speed. There's no gas pedal or brake or anything like that. And so then you're just twisting the controllers around, trying to get him to go where he's supposed to go. If he crashes, you have to start again. If you run out of bombs, he has to start again. And there were so many times where I was shooting at a tower with the bombs, and I swore it should hit it. Even with the red guiding line telling you where the bomb's gonna go, there were times where I'm like, I swear that should have hit it, and it didn't. But overall, even if the controls were perfect and stuff, this is still just it's just an Angry Bird. Like, if you love Angry Birds, then you're probably gonna love this game, assuming you can master the controls. But if you're kind of tired of the whole Angry Birds formula, because this certainly isn't the first game that has copied it, then you're probably not going to find much enjoyment in this game. I suppose you could, you know, maybe master the controls, and maybe that would add an element of satisfaction to it or whatever. But overall, I think this is a weird game to release at this point in VR's life cycle, especially on the Rift. Like, if this were on the Gear VR, that'd be a different story, because those things have been just handed out to people, right? And so you're going to have the people who only like to play casual games. But for the Rift community, it's most of them are pretty hardcore gamers, most of us, right? I mean, I wouldn't describe myself necessarily as a hardcore. I think a hardcore gamer wouldn't describe me as hardcore, but I play video games a lot, and this is a weird one for me. This is one that I wouldn't probably advise purchasing for most people, especially considering there are so many other good games out there to buy. And that's despite the fact that it's very well made. Like, as I say, the controls are really weird and hard to get a hold of, and they're unintuitive, but that was on purpose. They're not broken. They work the way that they're supposed to. It's just that the way that they're supposed to is really unappealing for me. I'm probably going to throw my kid into this game and let him try it out and see if he thinks it's more fun, because it's definitely, obviously, more of a kid-targeted game, and he hasn't played a lot of Angry Birds, so he probably wouldn't be as sick of it as I am. But for me, this game is definitely a pass in my books. If you absolutely are out of other games to play and you've got money burning a hole in your pocket, by all means give this one a shot. But otherwise, there's just not enough here for me. That's my take on it. But you can decide yourself. And next up is Drum Hero, which is exactly what you probably think it is. It's Guitar Hero, but for drums. I'll be perfectly honest, when I downloaded this, I was expecting it to be a, like, hey, here's my first Unity game ever, and it's called Drums Hero, check it out, sort of idea, right? And I'm not saying that that's absolutely the most horrible thing, but it just gives you an idea of the sort of quality that it's at, right? But it's not that at all. It's a polished game and it's well made. My only real complaint with it is that I suck at it. That's one complaint. So I guess there's two. And the other one is that I've never heard of any of the songs that are in it. And it's a little bit difficult. I mean, I guess if you are a drummer, you might find it a little bit easier, but I'm not a drummer, and you kind of have to be to play this game, because unlike Guitar Hero, which was able to simplify the idea, like, and that's kind of what made Guitar Hero really good, was like you kind of sort of felt like you were good at guitar even though you weren't good at guitar, you know, like you were just pressing buttons and strumming and stuff, whereas this one you are actually having to hit the drums. I mean, like, you could replace the Oculus remotes with drumsticks and the virtual drums with actual drums, and you would be drumming a song. I mean, it takes care of the kick drum for you, so you don't have to do that. But it's still, I mean, like, this game is going to require a level of coordination that most of us probably don't have. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. But unlike Guitar Hero, if you get good at this game, you're probably going to actually know how to play drums when you're done, because it's set up just like the drums. And I didn't try this, but it really, I mean, it's got, like, there's one drum that's labeled A, one that's B, one that's X, one that's Y, and it's the same colors as an Xbox remote. So I'm assuming you can play this on a remote, not a remote, a controller, an Xbox controller. And in that case, it might be slightly easier because you sort of, you know where these buttons are from muscle memory, right? But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to, see it the way that it was meant to be done. And so I was trying to do it. And I have a drum kit. I'm not by any means an accomplished drummer, but I have a drum kit. And, compared to somebody who's never played drums, I'm decent at it. Compared to somebody who does play drums, I'm garbage. But I'm in that middle road. I'm like the guy who's not completely lost on drums, but isn't fantastic either, and I could not do this. And you can see it in the video. I'm like, I was doing terribly. Now the other thing though was, like, it felt to me like I was doing terribly, and it sounded to me like I was doing terribly, but based on my scores, like, I was getting like perfects, so hitting when I was supposed to, but it really didn't sound right. And that was in the first genre that I played. And then I switched to a different genre of music, which is like more of a EDM style. And that one was a little bit easier because it was like a 4/4 beat and stuff like that. But there was still like it started out kind of easy, and I thought, okay, this is more my speed. I've got it now. And then it started like throwing in like these like complicated combo things, it just became really tough. So it's hard to say for what my final opinion about this game is, because it's well made. I honestly think you could learn to play drums playing this game, but it's not the sort of casual faux musician experience that you expect from playing like Guitar Hero or whatever. So if you bought this expecting that it was going to be like Guitar Hero only on drums, then you may find yourself a little bit disappointed, because as I say, it's a lot harder. Like it would be different if it were like, at the bottom of the track, if there was like 4 different drums or 5 different drums, and you just hit whichever drum the note was coming down on. That'd be one thing. But they're actually set up like a drum kit, and there's cymbals, so it's a lot more in depth than what I was expecting, and that could be a good thing for some people. I'm probably actually going to keep trying on it and see if I can improve and see how that goes, because I love playing the drums. I just don't have time to do it. That's my problem. So I'm probably going to keep going on this game. But if you think, like, if you've never touched a drum kit in your life, or you have and you're like, I never want to do that again, then this isn't your game. Because that's what it is. It gives you a drum kit, and then it gives you the track, and you play along. But otherwise, it's a well-made game. The songs, even though I have no idea what any of them are, and to be honest with you, that doesn't mean that they aren't popular songs. I just don't listen to a lot of music. So you people, whoever's listening to this, you might know what the songs are. I don't. So whatever. They were still, they weren't like painful to listen to or anything. They were pretty good. So yeah, it's a decent game, and honestly a lot better than I was expecting when I downloaded it. And that's about where I'm going to call it quits for today, guys. So thanks for checking out the show. It's really good to be back, and I hope you don't mind the new format too much. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you like the old show better? Do you like the new one? Do you want me to figure out how to get on here so you can see me talking about it, get videos of me playing, that sort of stuff? Just throw me some feedback if you don't mind. That would be excellent. I was originally going to cover Manifest 99 here, but the video recording, for some reason, when I try to record the gameplay, it drops down to like 10 frames a second, which not only makes me want to barf, it's just not a lot of fun to watch. But I will say this, it was a really interesting experience. It's not terribly long, maybe 10 minutes long, maybe 15 if I'm remembering correctly, and it's not something you're probably going to want to watch more than once or twice, but it is really cool, it's really well done, it's a neat experience, and it kind of like gives a little tug on your heartstrings a bit, so if you're into that kind of thing, it's not too expensive, so go ahead and check it out. But yeah, so that's where we're going to call it here, and please hit the like and subscribe and the bell so that you can get updated on when I get more videos up, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.